One of them is a primordial shade. They aren't even siblings, and everything we've been told was a lie. Welcome to my descent into madness. The finale of the Sumeru Archon quest dropped a huge bomb on our heads. Not only did it tell us that there's a possibility everything we thought we knew was a lie, but it might also have spoiled the end of the story. The one and only helpful Archon Nahida did some digging in Irminsul and told us about what the Fatui have called the Descenders. A Descender is a being foreign to Tevat. The ley lines collect all the memories and information from Tevat and then store them in Irminsul. Which means that, as beings from another world, the Descenders can't have any of their information be stored in the tree. So Nahida got all of her info about the Descenders indirectly by accessing information Irminsul had on the Fatui, and the Fatui have identified a total of 4 Descenders, which includes the Traveler but not their sibling, but we'll get there later. 4 is a rather interesting number, especially if you consider just how omnipresent the number 3 is. Triquetras are associated with the number 3 because they represent 3 different elements, depending on the context they are inserted in. For instance, in pagan tradition they represent the maiden, the mother, and the crone, while in Christianity they represent the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And they are everywhere in Genshin. From Mora to Paimon's design to the screen you get when you fail a domain or challenge, the murals and domains, you name it. They may even represent the structure of Tevat, the Abyss, Tevat itself, and Celestia. There is also the 3 Moon Sisters, Arya, Sonnet, and Canon. You get it, right? The number 3 is everywhere, but not 4. In fact, I think there are only 2 meaningful connections with this number so far. The number of Descenders and the number of Primordial Shades, which perfectly matches with the description of Phanes, Greek god of creation and life. When Phanes arrived in Tevat, it was ruled by the Dragon Lords, also referred to as the 7 terrifying sovereigns. Phanes waged war against them for 40 years, but that was a battle it could win alone, so it created 3 shades of itself. Side note, I'll be referring to the Primordial one as an it because that's what the scribe wrote down. And this part is a little confusing because in the first mention of the shades they are said to be 4, but further along in the text it speaks about the Primordial one and its 3 other shades, meaning the creator is also considered a shade, which to me reads as though it gave away part of itself, thus becoming less than it previously was. So these 4 beings may all represent and rule over an aspect of what was originally simply Phanes, divide to conquer. And since Phanes was from another world and its shades are just part of itself, they all also fall into that category. 4 beings from another world, 4 Descenders. After the end of the war, the Primordial one and one of its shades created all plants and beasts that populate Tevat, and for their final project created humans. So at least 2 shades are associated with life in some way. A 3rd shade, and also the only one we have any real information about, was known as a ruler of time. Her name was Istaroth. When a second celestial throne came and war broke out once more, plunging the people of Economy into the depths of the ocean, Istaroth was the only shade who kept on answering the people's calls. For that reason, the people revered her so much that they did not even dare call her by her name, instead giving her the name Kairos, which is an ancient Greek word associated with time and weather. Yes, weather, because Istaroth was also heavily linked to wind, but we'll get there in a moment. So, to recap, we have the Primordial one, a shade who helped it create life, a shade associated with time, and one who is a complete mystery. However, the Sustainer has been confirmed to be a Descender and could very well be our mystery shade. And this is when I want to turn to Greek mythos again, because Phanes was considered the first king of the universe, having eventually handed down his royal scepter to his daughter, Nyx, goddess of night. She, in turn, gave it to her son, Uranus, god of the sky, who had it stolen from him by Cronus, titan of time. Night, sky, and time. Do you know what other name is associated with the sky? Heater. For the ancient Greeks, Heater was the son of Nyx and Erebus, darkness, and represented the bright upper sky. He also had a sister, named Hemira, who represents day, and day is associated with light. What else was associated with light? The luminiferous heater, which was a postulated medium for the propagation of light in the vacuum of the universe. Lumine also means light. So we have heater, meaning sky or the space through which light travels, and lumine, light itself. The traveler has also described themselves and their twin as shooting stars and as coming from beyond the sea of stars, which again evokes imagery of space and light. What I'm proposing is that the royal succession of the entire universe, according to Greek mythos, might give us an idea regarding the identity of the shades. Now, Kronos eventually got overthrown by Zeus, giving rise to the Olympian gods, but those are the second generation of gods. As for Fane, Nyx, Uranus, and Kronos, they are all considered primordial deities, which sounds an awful lot like primordial shades. So Uranus, in the context of Genshin, would be none other than a traveler, which is obviously not something they are aware of, but have you not seen gods use too much of their power and been diminished as a result? Even in the Sumeru Archon quest, with the destruction of the remaining consciousness of Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, when all memories of her were wiped out, the people started to believe that Kusanali had been the one to save them all along, but by expending too much power, had lost all of her memories. Paimon has also been hinting at the same phenomenon. What if all of these are clues about the traveler's past? And if that is the case, it would explain what is arguably one of the weirdest voice lines in the entire game. Listen to this.
That was a refreshing sleep. Traveler, we meet again. What? You don't remember me? Well, allow me to join you on your quest once again. I must see to it that the bards of the world tell the traveler's tales.
Keep in mind that a lot of voice lines assume that the character and the traveler have been, well, traveling together. They are by no means strangers, but this one sounds like it takes place when the traveler and Venti have just met for the first time. Except Venti already remembers the traveler. Perhaps he remembers them from a past they themselves cannot recall. How? Well, that's where Istaroth enters the scene once more. Remember how I said she was associated not only with time, but also wind? She is referred to as the Thousand Winds of Time, or even just the Thousand Winds. We see references to this title not only in Kanomiya, but also in Mondstadt, where she also used to be worshipped, as can be seen from the Thousand Wind Temple and the sundials carved on it, though she was, ironically, forgotten over time. Before becoming a god, Venti was just a little wind spirit, just, and I quote, a single thread of the Thousand Winds. So my hypothesis is that Istaroth created the wind spirits and relegated her power over wind to them, while she remained mostly associated with time, not unlike Greater Lord Rukkhadevata and how she created the Aranara. However, this process wouldn't have been like the Primordial one creating its shades, otherwise all the wind spirits would have been descenders, which we know isn't the case because Venti has also been affected by the changes in Irminsul. In fact, the other Archon's voice lines reflect a new narrative, so instead of using part of herself, Istaroth might have just used their power or some other way to create their Thousand Winds while still having Tevat recognize them as belonging to it. After all, the humans were also created by the Primordial one and one of its shades, and they are still part of Tevat. But having been created by a shade, Venti might have known the other shades, including the Traveler. And if that is true, it explains why the Beast Sibling is from Tevat and the Traveler is not. If the Traveler is a primordial shade of light/sky, they might have created their sibling for the same reason they were created, to somehow separate their powers. Or maybe they were just lonely, I don't know, there may have been a lot of reasons. However, that means that their memories of traveling through other worlds are fake, which isn't an outlandish idea when you consider that there is someone actively messing with Irminsul's information regarding the Beast Sibling. Someone whose actions are not recorded, so likely another shade, like the Sustainer, who sealed the twins in the first place. Why would shades be fighting each other? Well, remember this text from the Traveler's page? The Keeper is fading away. The Creator has not yet come, but the world shall burn no more, for you shall ascend. Keeper here is likely referring to the Sustainer. Her fading might also be related to the fact that she hasn't been active ever since she sealed the twins. The Creator, however, must be the Primordial one. It being the original, its absence might have sent the other shades into chaos. Truth is, I don't really know. We just got told pretty much everything we thought we knew was a lie, so it's all wild conjecture at this point. So take this theory with a massive grain of salt. That said, we are at the point in the story where every wild theory deserves to be explored, and I certainly had fun thinking this up. So what do you think? What's the true nature of the Traveler and their sibling? Please leave a comment down below and let me hear your thoughts. My name is Blue, and I'll see you again soon. Safe journey, travelers.